Hi there, I'm Linsey Davis reporting in from Tepoztlan, Mexico as part of ABC's ongoing climate crisis coverage and the efforts to save tomorrow. Thanks so much for streaming with us. We are squarely focused on the power of water and the worldwide water crisis. More than 2 billion people around our planet currently do not have access to clean drinking water. In the next 30 minutes, we're going to introduce you to a group of people who are trying to change all of that. We begin with the water warriors and the Hollywood superstar who are fighting to bring clean water to everyone.
It is quite literally an uphill battle, a perilous pilgrimage. High in the hills of Mexico, in the heart of the San Juan Tlacotenco forest, the worth of water is revealed. More than 2 billion people around the world shoulder this burden, this desperation born out of life without access to clean drinking water, prompting some to take these treacherous treks of survival.
Es una familia muy humilde y la verdad pues ellos se mantienen de este pozo.
This man carries out the age-old tradition with success. He's fortunate that upon his arrival, roughly an hour after sunrise, no one else has beaten him to the spring. The water has not run out. After filling his water bottles, he then begins the long journey home, this time hauling heavy jugs in tow. In some of the world's most remote places, water is a challenge at best.
We're heading to a small community outside of Mexico City to really witness firsthand the impact of the water crisis.
We wind our way around the Mexican mountainside, about 60 miles south of Mexico City, though it feels like a world away.
This is the way to the spring, to the Sacazonapa spring.
And this spring has been around for
hundreds of years. And this is the closest spring to the community.
Tracing the steps of this life-threatening tradition in pursuit of a precious lifeline.
It is right over here. But this is the travel that a person needs to do.
If you have a lot of
exactly,
water.
Carrying a jug of water, doing this, it is particularly hard.
Yeah, I can only imagine. It's hard enough without any water.
Right? And this is the spring.
The steep climb concludes here.
This has been a tradition for many of the villagers here for generations, where they make this trek, sometimes several times a week, in order to get access to clean water from this sacred spring right here. And this water comes directly from the forest.
Often women bear this burden, and it's one many are unaware of. Around the globe, women spend 200 million hours a day collecting water for their families. Eva Flores endures the hardship personally and professionally. Her restaurant, Los Aguandos, is one of the only restaurants here in San Juan Tlacotenco.
Oh, también aquí.
She tells us she worries about water every single day.
¿Tú tienes suficiente?
No,
No
no nos alcanza. No, nunca.
There is never enough. She primarily relies on the rainwater she harvests during the rainy season to run both her household as well as her business.
¿Tú estás muy preocupada cada día para agua?
Claro que sí.
Sí.
Sí, porque pues, le digo, aquí nos hace, pues, lo primero el agua. Pues aquí no tenemos agua potable.
But by the end of the dry season, when the water runs low, only further aggravated by extreme droughts linked to climate change, Ava, like so many here, needs to pay for water to be trucked up the mountain.
We've seen certain communities where people spend as much as 20% of their income on water, which is insane.
The giant tank right in Ava's front yard was installed by Isla Urbana, a local water NGO specializing in improving rainwater harvesting.
Most of the places that have very severe water access problems in Mexico are also very remote, rural, predominantly very indigenous communities.
This tank acts as a storage vessel to capture rainwater. It's connected to a filtration system, making it more manageable to do basic domestic necessities. And when it runs out, it can be filled back up by a water truck.
When you have water crises like this, everybody always thinks of like access, like not having enough water. But the quality problem is just as big.
Enrique Lomans founded Isla Urbana when he saw the water issues plaguing his hometown of Mexico City. It's one of the largest cities in the world, and it's running out of water.
The street level is dropping about 1.5 feet per year because of how quickly we're drawing water out of the ground. So yeah, 22 million people running out of water. It's like a pretty terrifying thought.
A terrifying thought so many are facing. And Isla Urbana is just one of many organizations worldwide building solutions to help create equal access to water for all.
Hey, how you doing?
So nice to meet you.
Yeah.
And so is one of Hollywood's biggest superstars. Matt Damon has taken on perhaps his most significant role yet.
What made you decide, I want to use my platform for good specifically in this way?
As I started to learn about issues of extreme poverty, I was just shocked at how water really undergirded everything.
I recently sat down with Damon and his co-founder Gary White in New York. They've pledged to help as many communities globally gain access to clean water. Together in 2009, they created Water.org.
This is the global water crisis.
The organization has already empowered more than 52 million people with access to safe water or sanitation through affordable financing in 11 countries and 4 continents.
One after another, these women, among the most vulnerable on the planet, are really taking charge of their own solutions. And that's what's exciting for us, is it's not our story at all, it's their story.
The reaction for kids, for girls and women who have been spending the majority of their days, just in search of water, and now all of a sudden they have water.
It's sheer liberation, right? You're unshackled from this really onerous existence. Your day is dominated by how am I going to find and collect water, versus the ability to go to school and to start to think about, okay, well, what kind of life could I actually build for myself? It's a complete game changer.
Each small loan they dole out literally transforms lives.
One woman we met in the Philippines, she was paying about $60 a month in this slum for these water vendors. She took out one of these loans. Now she's paying $5 a month for the loan repayment and $5 a month for her utility bill. And there's been $4.2 billion in these microloans.
It's not just the needless kind of death and disease that happens because of this issue. It's the robbing human beings, particularly girls, of their potential to live out their dreams and kind of maximize their potential and live the lives that they want to live.
Hola, Rosalva.
Hola, buenos días.
Yo estoy Linsey.
Bienvenida a la casa, mucho gusto.
Oh, igualmente.
Dreams that Rosalva hopes will come true for her 14-year-old daughter, Dulce.
Hubo un tiempo donde ha pasado de que no hay agua y por ciertas cosas te enfermas.
Dulce, which means sweet, knows the bitter reality of life without regular access to water. It's a luxury here in the rural hills of San Juan Tlacotenco. Dulce says she dreams of a day she doesn't have to worry about water or wait for the rain to come.
Tenemos que esperar a que a veces la lluvia, que llueva para tener agua. Entonces lo que me gustaría es de que eso no pasara, que tuviéramos agua sin restricción, sin tener que estar comprando.
Rosalva explains to us that it's been raining less and less here and that she's forced to buy her own water. Several NGOs, including Sarar, help families like theirs get access to water, and something that many take for granted, a place to go to the bathroom.
Antes de este baño, yo tenía aquí llamamos una fosa, que es un hoyo dentro de la tierra.
¿Puedes mostrarme?
Claro que sí, adelante.
Okay.
She tells us she's had the bathroom less than a year. Globally, women spend 266 million hours a day finding a place to relieve themselves.
Como puedes ver, aquí no utilizamos ni una gota de agua.
Sarar helped Rosalva build her own bathroom on her property, as well as a filter system to make her rainwater instantly drinkable. Rosalva says both have tremendously improved her quality of life.
Ya nosotros como que vivimos más sanamente, estamos más contentos, todo es mucho más limpio.
And she's grateful, in large part, to Rafael Almazan.
So we are about to
engage the rainwater harvesting system.
Yeah, we can hear the rain coming.
The director, Zarar, which helps women like Rosalva transform their relationship with water and sanitation. Rafael explains why the burden of water collection so often falls squarely on the shoulders of women.
En el caso de San Juan, por ejemplo, Rosalba, ella tiene que salir a trabajar todos los días, de 6 de la mañana a 4 o 5 de la tarde, vendiendo sus nopales o trabajando en la tienda. Y después de eso todavía tiene que encargarse de las labores domésticas. Y una de esas labores domésticas es, pues, buscar agua.
¿Por qué es las mujeres que tienen que buscar el agua? ¿Dónde están los hombres?
Los hombres, muchos de ellos migran a los Estados Unidos. Y, ajá.
So, las mujeres están solas con los niños.
Sí.
Leaving young girls like Dulce to bear this daily silent burden. She's already a water warrior, determined to help access and sustain this dwindling resource.
Y eso es lo que me gustaría futuro, ayudar aquí en mi comunidad a eso, a que, digamos, haya agua en todas partes.
Giving further credence to the old adage that when someone's thirsty, a drop of water is worth more than a sack of gold. A reality Dulce and her mom live every day as they treasure this simple yet sacred necessity that sustains us all.
When the water dries up, the health consequences can really be dire. Next, ABC's Mireya Villarreal takes us to California's shrinking Salton Sea. The effects of climate change have really transformed this once thriving community. But a new discovery there could prove to be a game changer.
What was it about this area that made you want to come here?
Nosotros nos mudamos aquí a Salton City porque era más barato, porque estábamos cansados de tanto tráfico del lado de Los Ángeles y más tranquilo.
This was the American dream for Nancy del Castillo and her family. A home of her own, warm, sunny days, and a massive lake nearby.
El agua, o sea, yo dije, sí, donde hay agua, perfecto, porque eso relaja, calma.
That dream quickly turned into a nightmare.
No te salgas, ven.
What did it look like when you first got here?
Cuando venimos aquí, yo desde mi casa por la ventana lo alcanzaba a mirar, entonces yo lo miraba precioso por donde vivía. Pero cuando me dijeron, vamos a acercarnos al lago, ahí sí dije, oh Dios, ¿qué está pasando? Eran pescados muertos.
¿No sabía de eso?
Yo no sabía de eso.
When you first moved here, you didn't know?
No, yo no sabía.
It's been 9 years since Nancy and her family moved into this small, modest community, minutes from the Salton Sea, not knowing its history and the danger along its receding shoreline and lurking beneath the water. Y cuando llegaste, el lago está aquí.
Sí.
Y entonces, ¿qué pasó? What happened?
Yo escuché que el agua estaba muy salada y empezamos a investigar qué era lo que realmente estaba sucediendo.
Yeah.
Y hoy en día sabemos que el pez se murió totalmente porque el lago está contaminado.
This place was an accident. The Salton Sea formed in the early 1900s when an irrigation canal off the Colorado River burst. Water rushed into the Salton Basin and created an oasis in the desert. Within a couple of years, it became a playground, attracting some of America's wealthiest vacationers to its beachy inland shores.
As a member of the North Shore Beach Yacht Club, you will have this $300,000 clubhouse and this beautiful 400-boat marina at your disposal.
But the area has gone from a resort destination to this, a ticking environmental time bomb.
Back in the 50s, this was the vacation hotspot. Hundreds of thousands of people would come out every year, including some of Hollywood's elites. This, though, was a marina where hundreds of boats would come in and out. Today, there is barely any water here, and the Salton Sea is more than a football field away from me.
In the last 25 years, the Salton Sea has become California's most polluted inland lake and has lost a third of its water. In just the last decade, it's shrunk by 38 square miles.
From California tonight, a radical approach to conservation.
The decline, a direct result of a 2003 water transfer deal that several Southern California water boards signed that agreed to essentially cut off the water supply to the Salton Sea to send more water to San Diego. And growing strains on the Colorado River brought on by climate change and political battles still being waged today.
The Interior Department has laid out 3 possible options for addressing record low water levels along the Colorado River, including potentially docking a serious amount of water from the state of California.
The region's water allocation now largely going to farms. The runoff sustaining the lake, but also filling its underbelly with fertilizer and other toxic pesticides, which are now being exposed. The dust then spreads into surrounding communities, which are mostly low-income migrant families at high risk for asthma and other serious health issues.
A wall of dust headed for the Coachella Valley Thursday. Its ominous approach captured by weather watchers from the Salton Sea to Palm Springs.
When there's windstorms, it just picks up the dust and it brings it into people's homes. And so children are breathing this in the homes that they're living in. They're breathing it in their schools. They're breathing it in community centers.
Toxic dust.
Toxic dust.
Dr. Ann Cheney is a medical anthropologist for the University of California, Riverside, and works alongside Conchita Posar, who is a community advocate.
¿Creen que estas familias también tienen miedo para hablar de este problemas?
Sí tienen miedo porque muchas de las familias son inmigrantes, no cuentan con un estatus legal y piensan que al poder abogar uno por su comunidad puede ser discriminado o rechazado o incluso deportado. Entonces estamos viviendo en una oscuridad en donde no podemos decir lo que está sucediendo por miedo a la deportación. Las enfermedades nos están ganando.
What the community was telling us is our health matters too, and the sea is affecting our health. And one way we know that is we see it in our children.
Josh and Angel have asthma.
Our ABC affiliate, KESQ, has been documenting the Salton Sea project.
Sometimes my throat starts hurting when I start breathing.
The water used to come all the way over there.
Sheree Farzan, a researcher for USC, has been collecting samples from the air particles at elementary schools around the Salton Sea since 2017.
We see that the rate of asthma in this specific area is 22% in our study, and the U.S. as a whole is around 8 to 9%.
A 10-year cleanup program is underway to improve the basin and try to clean the air.
Extreme weather in California over the past month,
but California's record rain year statewide, barely touching the drought-starved communities that dot the shores of the Salton Sea. And now, a new boom in business, thrusting the struggling community back into the spotlight. Lithium. Dubbed the Saudi Arabia of lithium, this land is likely one of the world's largest lithium deposits, a critical mineral in electric vehicle battery production.
We see this as one of the greatest economic opportunities of our lifetime.
Lithium will be grabbed from the vast reserves deep below the Earth's surface and will be produced alongside the clean geothermal steam power plants that already exist in this region.
You inject water under the earth and bring it out hot. It's like a natural water heater of sorts.
And the byproduct is extremely valuable, correct?
It is.
A state report estimates there's enough lithium here to produce 600,000 tons per year. That would be the most in the world and could generate more than $7 billion a year. Locals are now demanding they reap the benefits of the white gold rush on their land.
Every single geothermal right now is on public lands.
So technically, the benefits should be coming to the community then.
Absolutely.
Luis Olmedo has lived in the Imperial Valley all his life. He's the executive director of Comité Cívico del Valle, a group founded on the principle that informed people build healthy communities.
This is an impoverished, low-income, disadvantaged, predominantly Latino community. We want these opportunities. We want the good jobs. We want the union jobs. So just because we're enthusiastic doesn't mean that we're going to look away from all the potential environmental harm.
Governor Newsom has signed legislation that will allow Imperial County to tax every metric ton of lithium produced.
We're talking about partnerships. We're talking about real inclusion. We're talking about economic opportunities.
But the promise of a better future won't change the current reality.
All of this used to be underwater. Water is the one element that can maintain all this dust from being airborne and impacting our health.
The hope of more water coming is slowly dwindling. The California Natural Resource Board has provided hay bales that are supposed to suppress the dust storms in this area.
It is a windbreak. It can help alleviate a little bit. It's not going to be 100%.
The drying sea now revealing an unintended windfall with lithium extraction. But at what cost to those that called this place home?
We're basically a sacrifice zone at this point.
What if water could literally be created right out of thin air? It may sound too good to be true, but ABC's chief meteorologist Ginger Z introduces us to an innovative solution that some are calling a water game changer.
Across this desolate, dehydrated land in the Mojave Desert, the first drops of water made out of thin air. A new innovation for a small but now famous community. Their groundwater was poisoned decades ago.
What the people who lived around here didn't know is that the water they were drinking, bathing in, and letting their children play in was contaminated with a dangerous chemical, chromium-6.
Tell me, what are these stairs?
These are my stairs going up to my house. You can see where all that was my house up back here.
Roberta Walker. Her name you may not know, but her story you likely do.
That's not what our doctor said.
In the 2000 Hollywood film, Erin Brockovich.
But PG&E paid for that doctor.
This is public road.
Roberta was the real-life woman that worked with the real-life Erin to file lawsuits alleging that California energy giant PG&E contaminated drinking water sources in and around the town of Hinckley, California, and nearby Kettleman City with a carcinogenic form of chromium. The company settled the suits, agreeing to pay about $628 million. She takes us back to those memories as she was raising her daughters.
Did they have symptoms, the girls, originally? Were they in the nosebleeds?
Yeah, the nosebleeds. My daughter, blood would come out of her eyeballs.
Despite the 3 decades that have passed since that original lawsuit, the dangerous chemicals still haunt this town.
That's got to be so upsetting.
It is.
The movie ended, the story doesn't.
No.
These stairs are all that's left of Roberta's second home, the dream home she built after the movie.
We were here up until 2020. We had to move again.
And you had to move again because?
The plume had moved northwest of PG&E, and it hit our land again.
Even though PG&E bought most of the homes dotting the now deserted alfalfa farmlands of Hinckley, about 300 people still live here. Largely because Hinckley now boasts some of the most affordable land in the state.
They're taking advantage of people that can't afford to buy or build anywhere else or even rent anywhere else because this is the cheapest place you can go.
Because it's a toxic.
Because it's a toxic wasteland.
But amid this toxic wasteland, down the street from what's left of Roberta's dream home, another home still stands. And what might sound like a pipe dream is becoming reality.
Behind us is the first source hydro panel system here in Hinckley, California.
Safe drinking water, made out of thin air.
It's coming out. And I can just drink this right away?
Totally.
Wow.
Our team of researchers at Arizona State University, like 10 years ago, tried to say, how can we take the principles of renewable energy and apply it to drinking water? And what they developed was the hydro panel, which uses a clever combination of a special material that absorbs hydrogen and oxygen, as well as a really clever thermodynamic process to get not only energy from the sun, but heat from the sun to make hot air. And that combination allows us to convert the vapor in the air into liquid drinking water without needing any power or water connections at all.
It's a fresh way to get safe drinking water in a community that just can't touch the groundwater. This hydro panel relies solely on the sun and the moisture in the air.
And then in its base is where it condenses and then it pumps up here.
Yeah, the internal water storage tank inside each of these units. So each one of these holds about 60 water bottles worth of water.
Hydro panels have brought drinking water to some of the most rural communities, like deep in Navajo Nation, where it is so sparsely populated, it's basically like one person every 6 miles. About 40% of Navajo families have no running water at all. Many are forced to drive, often for hours, to either gather water or buy it from the store. But the Navajo government contracted the installation of hydro panels on more than 500 homes. Now, a hydro panel system lasts up to 20 years and costs about $4,000 up front.
It's about 15 cents, so it's about 7.5 cents a water bottle. So again, more cost effective currently than commercially available bottled water.
But some will say it is not a one-size-fits-all solution.
It may be fitting for some cases, but not for others, just like any other, technology.
Dr. Yoram Cohen is the director of the Water Technology Research Center at UCLA, and he says depending on where you want to build the hydro panels will determine the success.
The key issue is how much would it cost? One has to think about it seriously, whether that's a sustainable solution, because if you are in an area where you have no water whatsoever, the question is why would you want to actually develop residential?
30 miles east of water-starved Hinckley, Maria Monroy welcomes the innovation because it's all about comfort and having safe water for her family to drink.
There you go. Okay.
Maria and her family have been understandably weary of their water. But like millions of Americans, they rely on bottled water.
How far do you have to go to get bottled water?
It's like 20 to 30 minutes.
So when what sounded like a miracle showed up, they said, please.
What's your hope? Do you imagine that you would see them in more places, more properties?
You know what? Yes, hopefully other people do want to get them in their properties and be able to rely on it.
The problems don't end at Hinckley. From Jackson, Mississippi to Flint, Michigan, there are communities all over the U.S. that can't drink their groundwater. Or probably shouldn't.
Do you have a lot of hope?
You have to have hope. You have to pray and have hope that there's going to be change in this world and that somebody, somewhere, somehow is going to figure out a way of cleaning up this land. But will I see it in my time? I don't think so. But I hope that it will happen for my kids and my grandkids.
Our thanks to Ginger. Solutions to solve the water crisis are literally all around us. That's all here from our team in Mexico. I'm Linsey Davis. Thanks so much for streaming with us.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.